Hello again, welcome to the Alpha Wave Trader Week Ahead. Today I'm just going to focus on a few stocks in the rare earth area, funnily enough. It's been a bit of a rough ride for the rare earth stocks over the last few years after the huge rally in 2011. But there seems to be signs of life. There's a bit of buying coming in recently, and most of them are in areas that are also technically quite interesting. So I just thought I'd take you through a list of a few of the small up-and-coming rare earth stocks that might one day bear fruit. The interest, of course, is in NdPr, which is the magnet used in wind turbines and electric batteries, electric car batteries. So, obviously the expectation for demand in those over the next sort of 10, 20 years is that it will continue to climb. And some of these companies, of course, if they get their mines up and running, could be worth a lot more than where they are right now. There was a little stock, it's PM8, I'll just quickly jump onto that. That just turned up with Fidelity on their register with 5%. Now, it's pretty early days in a little stock like this, technically. I have the monthly chart up here, and you can see there's been some huge volume going through in the last few months. And that's about 60% of the number of shares on issue that have gone through there. And Fidelity, of course, have picked up 5%, but someone else has picked up a lot more as well. So there's been quite a big changing of the guard there in the company, but just interesting that a big player like Fidelity has stepped up and bought a chunk. And if there was some weight on the stock from old shareholders, and that's been taken up, and expectations are that the project will move forward, you could expect there to be a higher chance that we could actually start the process of trending higher. But still pretty early days, but you do have a couple of monthly buy pivots that you can see here. If we've got the low price here, there's your monthly buy pivot the next month, and then it's sold off back to retest the low. And then we've got another monthly buy pivot a few months ago, and now it's been doing a lot of work within that monthly buy pivot. So next step is for it to sort of bust out above those highs around 2.5 cents, 2.6, and I'd say it's probably going to do that before it closes back below 1 cent here. So that's how I'd sort of look at a little stock like this. You've got to take it on and be willing to risk at over 50% of the value of the stock to get in it. But it's such a small stock. You'd look at it more like an option, an eternal option on the company getting up and running at their current market cap. But just an interesting one to watch, that one, with that changing of the guard in the shareholding. Now, GGG is another one that had a huge amount of hype back in the day. Greenland Minerals, or I think they were called. And you can see here, this is a quarterly chart. So the way I have these 4 charts, just so you can understand, if you haven't watched these before, this is actually a semi-annual. So in this top left corner, I'll have either the quarterly or the semi-annual, and you can see what it is there written. So we've got this semi-annual chart, and then over here I've got the monthly chart up here, you can see, and then we have the weekly chart down here, and we have the daily chart there. So it's just going in to see the stock at a closer level and being able to see it all at once across those different time scales. Now, just looking at a stock like this, you know, if it is going to start to recover, I mean, this is what I like to see. And we've got the half-yearly chart, which is quite interesting, showing, you know, the initial massive rally when rare earths went nuts back in 2011. And it's sold right off. It's really come back to earth, cleared everyone out over the next few years. And then we've actually seen the half-yearly buy pivot, which did end up closing weak, but it was a half-yearly buy pivot. And so that's just something to make you sit up and take a bit of notice. If we just go drill into that up close. So if we just analyze this up nice and close, you know, we have this huge sell-off happening, and the lowest price candle, we keep an eye on that lowest price candle. So there's your lowest price candle there in the move, and we need to see a close on the half-yearly basis above the high of that candle, and we actually did get that back in early 2017, which is that candle there. And then we're watching that candle, and you know, the area that you're interested in buying, if you want to get long the stock, is sort of that buy zone, which is the 75 to 87% retracement of that candle, and also even the 25% outside is a spot where you could be buying as well. So, you know, we've seen the pullback, which has cleared a lot of people out, and also a way of looking at it, we can just look at the wave higher. And so if we have a look at the monthly chart, looking at that move from the lows going all the way up to the high, so looking at the whole wave higher, you can see that we've had a big pullback right into the buy zone again of that wave, and looks like we might be getting a monthly buy pivot out of that buy zone. So that's very interesting, and that is where I'll then be looking at potential entry points once that monthly buy pivot is in place. So you know, it is stacking up, that there's potential things could start turning back up here. And you know, in the short term, just last week, this is a weekly, we've had quite a sizable move to the upside. So there's signs of buying present in these rare earth stocks. Hastings is another one that's seeing a bit of buying come into it recently. This is the weekly chart, and you can see just the last few weeks, you know, big pickup in volume. It's had a nice little spike to the upside, also from the buy zone of this big wave higher in 2017, and you can see that it has come back to the buy zone of that wave on the weekly chart. So if we just have a quick look at it, if I just go from that low, just have a quick look at that level, you can see, yeah, it's right in that zone where you want to see it come back to, really clearing everyone out, and just starting to show signs of life. You know, if you look at the quarterly chart on this one, sorry, semi-annual, there it is again, semi-annual, and we did get the semi-annual buy pivot, which was that huge one, massive move higher. So if you look at it from that point of view, and just have a quick look just at that half yearly bar being right in the buy zone of that. This is a spot where you'd expect it to possibly turn up from, and we have had a monthly buy pivot last month, and we're just having a bit of a sell-off at the moment, retesting the lows of that. So again, bit of buying pressure around in the spot where you'd like to see it in these little rare earth stocks. Arafura, another one that has just picked up recently. If we look at the semi-annual chart here, it hasn't had a semi-annual buy pivot yet. This is looking back to 2014. You can see there's the lowest bar in the move, and we need to see a close above the high of that bar, which is up around 10 cents on a semi-annual basis. And you can see it did have a spike higher, got rejected from the 618 above that bar, sold off all the way back to the lows, And just recently, if we look at the weekly chart, you'll see quite a sizable spike. Volume picking back up and just turning back up from the lows quite aggressively. And it has actually had the monthly buy pivot out of those lows. So there's been a big clear out of positions. It's gone all the way back to the lows, but from there it's really turning up quite aggressively. So just, again, all in line that these stocks all at once are seeing a bit of a buying spurt, which is, really adds a bit of credibility to the move that we're seeing. Alkane's another one that has seen a bit of buying of late, but not as convincing as the other ones, the way it's trading. If we look at the monthly chart, still sort of feels like it's just bouncing along, getting rejected over and over. So it may still have a bit more work to do, but you can see the monthly buy pivot coming in there, and we are seeing a bit of a sell-off back to retest the lows of that. And I'd say it's one that you'd run away from if you've got a monthly close below the lows, but just a bit of a signs of life there, and lots of false starts we've had in the past, so this may be another one, but just adding to the list of the rare earth companies that are seeing a bit of buying coming in all at once. And finally, Peak Resources, with a little project, I think, in Tanzania, which is, quite a large mine that could come online, and a good internal rate of return, not too much CapEx or OpEx compared to some of the other projects out there. So, interesting little project, but it's pretty tough old chart because it is still looking like it's trending down on that semi-annual chart. You really need to see a bit more evidence that it's turning back up on that longer term chart. But it looks like we might be getting a monthly buy pivot this month. And, this old low is the interesting low that I'd be keeping my eye on. Sort of makes it look like it's been a false break of that low. So if we just look at that range that we saw in the past, prices very often create these ranges. This is the initial reaction, and then it sets up a distribution basically. So you've got, you can see it's got to the 25% below, 25% above, and then we've had another clear out of positions, and this has gotten all the way down to that 618 below. So this is the area where I'm interested in seeing prices turn back up, and we're just seeing that buying and the potential of a monthly buy pivot. And if it can breach back up inside the range, it's going to start looking pretty good. So again, another one, that whole list of rare earth companies with interesting little projects that are all seeing buying all at once. And you'll see just on Peak, just last week, good, strong upside and good volume. So yes, someone's getting pretty interested in these rare earths. So perhaps you should put them on your watch list and have a think about them. All right, cheers. Well, I'll come back with more next week.